Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. In this video, I'll be going through the West Coast versus Richmond game, going through how boring this was. I didn't even watch this, honestly. I was just watching other stuff because it was Taranto on about 140% effective ownership in the top 10,000 or something. And I think in the top 4,000 or 5,000 is about 115 or 110, give or take. And I was just like, I ain't watching this because I only had him, and I know that Duggan was one of the guys that I was only going to really be looking at in his score. And in the end, I did tweet out and then basically put a reverse rocket through Duggan. I said, "Oh yeah, Duggan, he's on 20. He was on about 23 or something at the time, 24 at the time." And I was like, "Oh, Duggan, he's going to go huge here at this point." I think it was on 21. I want to say it was on 21 here at about the. Let me just switch this over. I will do that at the end. He was on here at 21 after about 13 minutes. I was like, oh, I've missed out on Duggan here for bloody Sicily. And then he went -1 for the rest of the quarter, went 12 in the second, and then he did get away in the third, but never really got up to that 119 points for Duggan. Isn't 19-point difference isn't that bad. So yeah, we'll start off now with this. Tom Cole, 97. Yeah, he just did a lot in the last three quarters, but I didn't watch it, so don't really know what to say. And I think from what I can see from Tom Cole, I don't think he's going to be fancy relevant. So I think it's one of those games where not necessarily someone like a Harris Andrews, because Harris Andrews actually can score semi-regularly. I think it's just one of those games where a key defender just got a lot of marks and stuff like that, and I can't think of a name off the top of my head that does that or has done that before, but yeah, it just doesn't look like it will happen regularly with Tom Cole, so I do not think he's an option. Sheed, 95, finally actually scoring for once, but doesn't really matter. Gaff came on so early. They were trying to get him a quarter and a half or two, like a half a footy rather than a full game. And he basically got a full game. I think he got pretty much his full time on ground in. If we actually look at Gaff, I think you'll see that his time on ground was pretty much the same. If we actually look at it, 74%, so he was down, 8%, 7% on his 7% on his season low other than that. So for spending the first 15 minutes off the ground, the first eighth of the game, which is 12% anyway, he played out, what is that? Somewhere close to about, I would say, 80% of the rest of the game. If we look at the actual stats now, if we look at, how can I do that? I think that's right. Yeah, he played out 84% of the rest of the game once he came on. If he came on in about the 15th minute, which I think was around the time that he came on. So yeah, he came on and he played a lot of the time when they weren't trying to, just because they're so cursed with injuries, to the point that I swear they had another injury as well. Another guy came back on, which he probably shouldn't have. It was that ridiculous. Tim Kelly, 88, again, just showing that he can have those low games, but 88 still for a bottom-out score is really good. Jack Darling did all right. Duggan, as we were talking about earlier. Witherden, he's actually scoring all right, but I think once Hearn is back, which he is back now, he's going to start to drop a little bit as Hearn gets back into the fold. But I do think you'll see Hearn retire, which could mean that if Witherden keeps his spot, he could be fancy relevant next year, but I don't think that's worth a punt next year per se. Cripps, 75, not really relevant. Hoff, 71. I think he's going to be one of the biggest climbers next year, so I would put him on your watch list. I do think Bailey Williams is a little bit too high now for him to, unless he starts dropping his average a little bit, I think he's a little bit too high to be able to be used next year. Shuey, a mid, doesn't really matter, 64 from him. Hearn, I think this is his last season, to be honest, and 58 from him doesn't really matter. Marek, a 55, just a forward not being able to do much. McGovern, 55 again. I think this is near enough the end for him, even just because of injuries. I think there's that. Barras was actually non-existent in the fourth. Don't know what happened with him. And I wouldn't be surprised if he moves clubs, but I'm just wondering what it's for. That's the thing. I'm wondering Petreski Seaton, 48. Noah Long, 41. I think he could get a more... I wonder if he's going to get more time in the like wing or half forward rather than this sort of small pressing forward, or whether that's just going to be his career. Hewitt, a 40, just didn't get involved. I think he's also one that you can look for next year and just wait on that one. Chesser, 37, just not really doing anything. But again, still making cash, so he's all right. Allen, 37. Hunt, Williams, and then Williams, it's been actually all right for me. Just getting that, being able to maneuver him around a little bit and getting that ruck maneuverability has been really good. And then Jimby just subbed out, and he's really just been annoyed. It's been annoying him since basically I got it. He's been so inconsistent, but now we'll sit out pretty much the rest of the year, and we'll start next year. I think they might as well put him on ice at this point for the rest of the year. Just put him on ice at this point. You've got 58 average, so that will translate to, I believe, around that 500k or so range, I believe. Yeah, 513k. So will he be an option next year? Don't think so, but will be interesting to look at that and see. But yeah, he's really just dropped off after a 92. But I do think he will come of age in the third or so year of his of playing. I think he's one of those late bloomers. Well, not really late bloomers because we've really already seen it, but I think he will become fantasy relevant in a couple of years. Taranto, 111, he's been ridiculous, but obviously will lose that forward status. But, I mean, he's been for next year. Soldo, as I was explaining in the last video, I think, or of a couple of videos ago, I think he isn't an option. I think he is actually a red flag, just because I was looking through his past history. I think in one of the breaks between filming the game reviews today, and yeah, he just doesn't score that well. I mean, I could have lined it up with when Nank is playing, because he would be playing that second ruckman and playing sort of that 30-40% ruck role. But I mean, he doesn't score that well, and I think this is just an outlier against a fairly... I mean, Eagles are plus 19 or something like that on their rucks. So I think it's an outlier. Bolton, 99. He did all right, but it was mostly first quarter that he scored well. Rioli, 97. Martin, 94. Hopper, 94. He had a ridiculous second half, Hopper, of a 76 to resurrect that score. And I do think he'll become relevant sometime. I mean, if we look at Hopper here, as we do see Cochin and Dusty start to drop off, I do think Hopper will come into it. And I do think next year could be a year for him, but he will be priced around about that 88, which is not kind, because you need him averaging basically career best, which I don't think he can necessarily do. Revolt, Bolter, Prestia, Pickett, Vlosten, Baker, Ross, none of these guys are really that important. And then, yeah, that's basically it. There's no one that I'm really looking into next year from Richmond. Richmond tend to be not really that fancy relevant, other than, especially because their midfield aren't that fancy relevant. And all years going by, they haven't had someone average a ton since, I think, Bashahuli in 2017 or something like that. And it doesn't look like they've got Short in the... Well, Short is obviously out at the moment, but Short and Baker are sort of taking it off each other and aren't really... No one's consistent enough and with Richmond, which is a problem in fantasy. So that is the video there. I did... not tell you guys to subscribe, but I mean, you guys know that at this point anyway. And yeah, so that is the video, and you will see my round review and some other stuff. And hopefully, because it's back to a Friday game, I might be able to get another video out to you guys on Friday or Thursday or whatever with some new video game content. But we'll have to wait and see with how busy everything is outside of I guess my week this week. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the game, the round review tomorrow. Thanks guys. Goodbye.